Hey there, pilots! This is Dauntless Sam, and today we'll be looking at the history of the Messerschmitt Bf 110 and its flight characteristics in War Thunder. The Messerschmitt Bf 110, often erroneously called Me 110, was a twin-engine heavy fighter in the service of the Luftwaffe during World War II. Hermann Göring was a proponent of the Bf 110. It was armed with two 20mm cannons, four 7.92mm MG-17 machine guns, and one 7.92mm MG-15 machine gun, or twin MG-81Zs for defense. Development work on an improved type to replace the Bf 110, the Messerschmitt Me 210, began before the war started, but its teething troubles resulted in the Bf 110 soldiering on until the end of the war in various roles, alongside its replacement, the Me 210 and the Me 410. The Bf 110 served with considerable success in the early campaigns, the Polish, Norwegian, and Battle of France. The Bf 110's lack of agility in the air was its primary weakness. This flaw was exposed during the Battle of Britain, when some Bf 110 equipped units were withdrawn from the battle after heavy losses and redeployed as night fighters, a role to which the aircraft was well suited. The Bf 110 enjoyed a successful period following the Battle of Britain as an air superiority fighter and strike aircraft in other theaters. During the Balkans campaign, North African campaign, and on the Eastern Front, it rendered valuable ground support to the German army as a potent fighter bomber. Later in the war, it was developed into a formidable night fighter, becoming a major night fighting aircraft of the Luftwaffe. Most of the German night fighter aces flew the Bf 110 at some point during their combat careers, and the top night fighter ace of all time, Major Heinz Wolfgang Schnaufner, flew it exclusively and claimed 121 victories and 164 combat missions. Throughout the 1930s, the air forces of the major military powers were engaged in a transition from biplane to monoplane designs, most concentrated on the single-engine fighter aircraft, but the problem of range arose. The RLM, pushed by Hermann Göring, issued a request for a new multi-purpose fighter called the Battle Destroyer, with long range and an internal bomb bay. The request called for a twin-engine, three-seat, all-metal monoplane that was armed with cannon as well as a bomb bay. Of the original 7 companies, only Messerschmitt, Focke-Wulf, and Henschel responded to the request. Messerschmitt defeated Focke-Wulf, Henschel, and Arado, and was given the funds to build several prototype aircraft. The Focke-Wulf design, the Focke-Wulf FW-57, had a wingspan of 25.6 meters and was powered by two DB600 engines. It was armed with two 20mm MGFF cannons in the nose, and a third was positioned on a dorsal turret. The FW-57 version 1 flew in 1936, but its performance was poor and the machine crashed. The Henschel HS-124 was similar in construction layout to the FW-57, equipped with two Jumo 210Cs for the version 1. The version 2 used the BMW 132D radial engine, generating 870 PS, compared with the 640 PS of the Jumo. The armament consisted of a single rearward-firing 7.92mm MG-15 machine gun and a single forward-firing 20mm MG-FF cannon. Messerschmitt omitted the internal bomb load requirement from the RLM directive to increase the armament element of the RLM specification. The Bf 110 was far superior to its rivals in providing the speed, range, and firepower to meet its role requirements. By the end of 1935, the Bf 110 had evolved into an all-metal, low-wing cantilever monoplane of semi-monocoque design featuring twin rudders and powered by two DB600A engines. The design was also fitted with Handley Page wing slots, which are actually just leading-edge slats. On May 12, 1936, Rudolf Opitz flew the first Bf 110 out of Augsburg. But as many pre-war designs found, the engine technologies promised were not up to the acceptable reliability standards. Even with the temperamental DB600 engines, the RLM found that the Bf 110, while not as maneuverable as desired, was quite a bit faster than its original request specified, as well as faster than the current frontline fighter, the Bf 109B1. Thus, the order for 4 pre-production A0 units were placed. The first of these were delivered on January 1937. During this testing, both the Focke-Wulf FW-187 and the Henschel HS-124 competitors were rejected, and the Bf-110 was ordered into full production. The initial deliveries of the Bf-110 encountered several issues with delivery of the DB600 motors, which meant that they were forced to install Junkers Jumo 210B engines, leaving the Bf-110 seriously underpowered and able to reach top speed of only 431 km an hour. The armament of the A0 units was also limited to 4 nose-mounted 7.92mm MG-17 machine guns. Even without the delivery of the DB600 engines, assembly began of the Bf-110 in the summer of 1937. As the DB600 engines continued to have issues, production was forced to keep using the Jumo motors. 3 distinct versions of the Bf-110B were built: the B1, which featured 4 7.92mm MG-17 machine guns and 2 20mm MG-FF cannons; the B2 reconnaissance version, which had a camera in place of the cannons; and the B3, which was used as a trainer, with the cannons replaced by extra radio equipment. Only 45 Bf-110Bs were built before the Jumo 210G engine production line ended. The major identifier of the A and the B-110s were the very large mouth bath radiators located under the engine. In late 1938, the DB601B1 engines became available. With the new engine, the design teams removed the radiators under the engine nozzles and replaced them with water glycol radiators for the C-series airframes onwards, placing them under the wing just outboard each nozzle, otherwise similar in installation, appearance, and function to those on the Bf-109E. With the DB601 engine, the Bf-110's maximum speed increased to a respectable 541 km an hour, with a range of approximately 1,094 kilometers. A small oil cooler and air scoop remained under each engine nozzle for the remainder of the Bf-110's production run. First conceived in the latter half of 1939, the D-series of Bf-110s was targeted to have improvements meant to increase its range. The initial D-series version, the Bf-110D1, was designed to omit the twin MG-FF nose mount cannon for weight saving and added a large, streamlined 1,050-liter internal ventral fuel tank built into the fuselage, which required a substantially sized conformal streamlined ventral fuselage fairing extending from halfway back under the nose to the rear of the cockpit glazing, inspiring the nickname Dachshund's Belly. The D1 was also set up to accept a pair of fin-equipped 900-liter drop tanks, one under each wing, increasing the total fuel capacity to 4,120 liters. The substantially added drag of the Dachshund's Belly integral ventral fuselage tank in test flights mandated its omission from production D1s, with the designation of D1R1 given to airframes alternatively fitted to have a ventral rack, accepting a third 900-liter drop tank under the fuselage instead, retaining the twin MG-FF nose-mounted cannon in both cases. Later D2R2 and D3 versions retained the twin underwing 900-liter drop tank capacity, using multi-purpose ordnance racks capable of holding either drop tanks or carrying bombs. The Bf-110's main strength was its ability to accept unusually powerful air-to-air weaponry. Early versions had 4 7.92mm MG-17 machine guns in the upper nose and 2 20mm MG-FFM cannons fitted to the lower part of the nose. Later versions replaced the MG-FFM with more powerful 20mm MG-151-20 cannons, and many G-series aircraft, especially those which had served in the bomber-destroyer role, had 2 30mm Mk-108 cannons fitted instead of the MG-17. The defensive armament consisted of a single flexibly mounted 7.92mm MG-15 machine gun. Late F-series and prototype G-series were upgraded to a 7.92 MG-81 machine gun with a higher rate of fire, and the G-series was equipped with the twin-barreled MG-81Z. Many G-series night fighters were retrofitted or factory-built with off-bore gun systems, firing upward at an oblique angle for shooting down bombers while passing underneath, frequently equipped with two 20mm MG FFM, but field installations of the 20mm MG 15120 or 30mm MK 108 cannons were also utilized. These upward-firing weapons were typically mounted to the back of the rear cockpit. The Bf-110 G2 was also capable of accepting armament such as the 37mm BK-37 auto-fed cannon, mounted in a conformal ventral gun pod under the fuselage. A single hit from this weapon was usually enough to destroy any Allied bomber. In War Thunder, there is one variant of the Bf-110. It is a Rank 1 Battle Rating 2.0 heavy fighter bomber. It has a maximum speed of 538 km per hour, a turn time of 30.7 seconds, and a rate of climb of 11 meters per second. It is armed with four 7.92mm MG-17 machine guns with 4,000 rounds, two 20mm MG FFM cannons with 360 rounds, and is defended with one rear turret fitted with one 7.92mm MG-15 machine gun with 750 rounds. The Bf-110 can be loaded with either 8 50kg bombs, two 250kg bombs, or one 500kg bomb. The Bf-110 is very fast and has strong armor. It has a very powerful armament for its tier. The downsides to this aircraft are that the pilot is very easy to hit, and the plane has a very long turn time. Also, it is very difficult to point down the nose in the correct direction to aim. Use your speed to your advantage and never expose your pilot to fire, especially in head-on passes. I hope that this information has proved helpful. If you liked the video, please do like the video. If you would like to see more videos like this, feel free to subscribe to the channel, and if you think anyone else would be interested in this video, don't be afraid to share it. This is Dauntless Sam. Thanks for watching.